going to be the bear man.
Of course, Hacker has been the person who's probably played it one of the most here in the LPL as well. He's loved it, and we know Hacker is all about those early game junglers, as old LPL fans will know of this player. But also note that for eStar, Brad and ShiauC, they've pulled out a lane like this before. Wouldn't be too surprised to see the Senna priority come in here and try and get some range on the Kaisa.
I'm a bit surprised because despite the fact that we've seen it fall off a little bit, Brad has pretty much been our premier Xayah player, picks up any chance he gets. Hasn't played the Senna yet, but Senna's still a champion I like quite a bit, even though we haven't seen her as much as I honestly expected that we would. It does signal me that we are going to play much more on the top side of the map, which we know at the start of the split is what eStar were doing very heavily.
And to correct myself, thank you for that. It is the Xayah that we've seen so heavily there before. So first time coming out here with the Senna. The question is going to be whether we see that fasting lane, because most often done with the Tahm Kench. Now, ShiauC is a big player of the Tahm in the past, so this would be the true non-surprise for ShiauC to partner up.
ShiauC plays absolutely everything, so we do see it come out. I wonder how eStar are going to end up playing this, because when you see things like this, right, you could see it played in the sense of like a 1-3-1 comp in the mid game where you have Tahm, Kench, and Senna both having globals able to hover towards both sides. Obviously, it could function with a teamfight comp, but I feel like eStar would need more engage, because WE have both engage and disengage in their composition right now. eStar's comp is a bit of an outline, but we're still missing like we're missing the meat and potatoes of what they're gonna do. And let's be honest, the meat and potatoes are exactly the carbs are the best part.
Oh yeah, man. All we have right now is the fat.
The meat. The protein is nice though. The protein is good.
The problem is if you just have the fat, you get sick, right? But you get the protein throughout, you get the meat, right? The potatoes on the side, and you go, well, actually, I can have the fat too, and I can still, feel like I'm eating a decent meal. So we'll see how it's built out. At the very least for WE, they know that part of the engage, part of the setup comes from something like an Orianna, the first ban in the second phase.
And you do have some, I'd say, blind pickable top laners you can go with that do extremely well with this, right? We could see ZS pick up the Jace, which will do incredibly well on any matchup. You have the globals to support him. We do also have the Camille, though I don't personally care for Camille against Gragas all that much. It feels like Gragas does neutralize that lane pretty well. Or the third option would just be the Gnar, but I feel like if you were going to go for the Gnar and just play that hard 1-3-1 sort of style, maybe the Jace would just be a better alternative.
Okay. Well, eStar, they lose out another mid laner at the very least. Let's see if it gets locked in here, because you get the wave clear.
Well, we're back, Hysterics. We're back.
Oh, man. LPL comes off a 2-week break, and suddenly everyone's like, hey, have we tried this new thing, Corki Azir? Yeah. On the shoulder. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll play it. No, I don't want to, but I'll play it.
I like how Green Tea is patting him on the shoulder.
You'll get over it.
Irma doesn't want to play it, but Green Tea says, good luck, buddy. You'll get through it. And now for WE, the question. Oh! We get the Mundo.
I'm happy to take Corki Azir for Mundo.
Yeah, we did have this somewhere globally. I want to say it was the LEC, but yeah, we haven't had this in the LPL yet, to my knowledge. I will double check to make sure I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
A couple of times in the LEC from memory. Can't remember what team, but I do know watching it and going, yeah, Mundo smash. So this is kind of fun because we've got the scaling from the bottom side onwards with the Azir, Kaisa, but you've got the volatility of the Renekton. Of course, Mundo will scale as well. And you're relying on the Corki to kind of DPS him down, so... Alright, here we go. Lyric,
Hysterics,
walk me through.
Real quick, we also have had this pick a ton over in the LCK, apparently.
Okay.
But, yeah, looking over at eStar's comp, it does have numerous ways you can play out the game. Like, Gnar and Corki can both sit in the side lane, I'd say, more potently than their counterparts in Renekton and Azir. You do have the globals coming out and supporting them. The thing I'm afraid of for eStar's comp is that it might be too slow to get off the ground. Like, sure, Gnar will generate pressure in the top lane, but it's not really pressure you could tangibly play around. It doesn't really set up ganks well. For the side of WE, I'm interested to see what this Mundo provides, but a lot of scaling, you at least do have early all-in potential coming in both your bot lane and your top side if you can find a way to set up a gank there. But yeah, I think I like more what WE have put together. My questions are for eStar. How are they able to pull the trigger with this comp?
Yeah, because options are always great, right? Like options versus limited options, it seems like you're saying here for both these teams. And looking at WE, you know, being the better team, being the top tier team at the moment, WE are that team we expect to kind of run forward out of the gate and start beefing up heads. And seeing the Mundo coming out of Beishang, a jungler who is like an Echo original OTP, who was a top 3 jungler in 2020. If anyone didn't watch WE, Beishang is this rising jungler who debuted in 2019, took over from some of the teams like leading junglers. We remember once upon a time we had Condi on WE. Who else? Who are big names I'm looking for on WE in the past? In 2017. Am I actually just brain farting right now? Maybe I am, Lyric. Maybe I am. I'll work on that in the roundup to this one. But at the very least, Beishang is the jungler that you want to see in the LPL because he's one of the best. He deserves to get a shot at Worlds one of these years as well.
Hysterics. How could you brain fart on ShiauC and Mystic?
No. Junglers, brother.
Junglers.
Brother.
I thought you meant players.
No. I'd never do that on ShiauC Mystic, brother.
I was more focused on the fact that we have a Dr. Mundo jungle to think about. Hey, what is Hysterics saying about these players? Because, again, I'll be honest. So we've seen this in the LCK a few times. We've seen ShiauC pull it out. We've seen Mowgli pull it out. Over in the LEC, if I do remember correctly, I think it was Tinks who did end up playing it.
Yep.
Build-wise, he's at least very similar to the Udyr in the sense that, you know, typically you do see Turbo Chem Tank or the Frostfire Gauntlet, but then you do obviously stick to full tank. You do have the ability to run people down. But, again, Mundo, at least traditionally, was never too much of a team fighter. You're really about getting to that point where you just become like an unkillable annoyance, but you don't provide too much more to your team comp than that. He used to be very good up against team compositions that brought a lot of heavy magic damage because Spirit Visage Warmogs can easily heal that up.
What is this skin? This is the best thing I've ever seen. I'm not all I know is there's like Rageblade Mundo and Mundo File. Corporate Mundo is actually called. I have not seen this like Captain Piracy Mundo skin. To bring you back to your train of thought, because you were making a really good point, I just interrupted you with play-by-play nonsense. The way I see Mundo as well is like that disruptor role, right? You become the unkillable force that's always in your face that you can't get around because Cleaver is just always there to slow you down.
But typically, like, problems with Mundo in competitive in the past was that you can just ignore him, right? He doesn't actually have all that much damage. He doesn't have any hard CC. But we are seeing here in the early game, his clear speed is actually very respectable, completely matching Hacker's Udyr so far. And again, I feel like their lanes at least have more setup. You have CC in both top and bot lane if you do want to look for these skirmishes to find kills. For the side of eStar, you really don't have that. It's pretty much just up to Hacker to, you know, run, stun, and, well, we all know the rest.
Yeah. Perfectly said. You already talked about the options here for WE. Breathe pushing in this top wave. Actually got a good position in the wave, it seems, onto ZS's Gnar. As bottom wave, the early aggression you mentioned. And it's 19 CS to the 8 onto ShiauC. Remember, it is the fasting Senna, so ShiauC will be picking it up. And we haven't seen this in the LPL yet, as far as I'm aware. I know we've seen the Senna with the Gordrick, of course.
Hysterics. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're right.
I don't know if Breede's ward is actually good enough. He didn't get the wave in. Yeah, I think he's just dead. At least has to blow his flash for sure.
It's going to be flash for flash at this rate. Hacker waiting for him to get out of the brush. He's just running at him, gets the stun down. ZS with the slow. Hop over the wall. The range there. They double flash match, and ZS picks up first blood.
Yeah, I was watching the mini-map while we had our screens on bot because Breathe wasn't able to get his wave completely under turret, which he knew. He's like, okay, I'm definitely going to get ganked. Walk to river where we can, if you can see on the mini-map, actually Hacker's clearing the ward right now, put that ward. But that ward is way too shallow to where, with where the wave was for Breathe, if Hacker shows on that ward, Breathe will either be dead or have to burn a flash, as we saw there. So I think a bit of a basic mistake for Breathe. He knew that Hacker would be there, but he just got punished for his greed.
We were just complimenting Breathe coming into this game, being some of the best top laners. I wanted to correct myself from earlier. Of course, I was talking about Condi and Beishang kind of following suit of these junglers. Condi was correct, but also meant to talk about Spirit, who, of course, went over to a Freaker at some point. And, you know, Beishang is kind of that jungler that has to show the audience, has to show us that he's back towards that form from 2020, and he's starting to split off exactly as we saw for WE. Note that with Breathe going down, both his summoners were burnt, and First Blood actually went to the top laner in ZS as well. So Gnar being in the favorable matchup feels like things are going to escalate here for eStar.
Definitely, and that is a really nice pickup for eStar when you're questioning, hey, how are they going to be able to find opportunities? They do just punish a mistake coming from WE to give them an opening. And their composition will do very well later on, again, at pulling eStar apart, and they at least have very good kiting potential if WE do run into them. You have the Corki, you have the Senna, you have a lot of sustain between those two as well. So for eStar, they definitely have options. I just think WE has more proactive tools.
Watching. Hack is just running at him like a bird, and Beishang's just infected Cleaver over and over. And with those options as well, to reiterate, you know, for WE, let's remember that you've got a composition that with Grievous Wounds, you can stop the Renekton front line, the Mundo front line as well, and kind of pierce through and kind of pierce the veil that is WE's strength. So always something to watch here for the item choices as Jiumeng misses the back timing here on the bottom side. Teleport burnt by ShiauC, who gets back into the lane in favorable timing, but doesn't have his support with him for now.
And we get back to a more standard early game, and as expected, kind of going through these matchups, right? Gnar is winning, Azir is winning. For bot lane, the fasting Senna lanes typically do lose outright because since the support is the one who's farming, the support is melee, he actually needs to walk up to the wave, so they are typically taking harass and sometimes being denied minions. Of course, it is fine with the Senna because you have the sustain, but you will still lose out up against a ranged carry.
Rat has just moved mid though, Lyric. Tell me, what was the plan here? Because Rat going mid means that ShiauC gets pushed pretty hard at half health. Doesn't lose too much with the minion wave pushing against the turret, but I guess just wanted to help out Irma a little bit as Shanks now the mid lane might have to disappear as Emperor's Divide is used, but the Gatling gun, couple of autos, Shanks gets low but holds onto his flash.
Yeah, Rat came in trying to help Irma get a reset. You could see his mana was extremely low. He wasn't really able to do much in the lane. They back off, Hacker shows up. With Shanks still overextended, seems like they want to go for the gank. I don't expect them to go for the dragon here off of this Scuttle Crab. And yeah, both teams just kind of going to default back to their sides of the jungle as, you know, Beishang just saying hello to the mid wave, trying to help his mid laner now. Get a nice push.
Irma, good timing to watch that Valkyrie not go over the wall. Doesn't mean too much though. The wave will still get pushed in. And this early game has been, you know, quite slow, but we've seen junglers make these minute moves to make differences, you know, with pushing mid wave, hovering around mid as well. But in this early game, we need to note that there is a bit of a CS lead towards ZS, who got that first kill and is now about 5 CS up. Mid, Shanks as well, actually has a bit of an early lead, but you already talked about this in game one. Azir versus Corki, no one cares at this point in the game. Azir has the range and he's going to play with it, so everything looks pretty normal for now. And we just want to see how these junglers make their impact, especially on the eStar side, and how Hacker can continue influencing the map to make it less janky for eStar's transitions.
No, I think both teams are fine taking it slow for the reasons we listed before, right? I'd say both team compositions definitely come online later on, especially for eStar. Like, eStar are completely fine doing this because they want to get to the point where it is about fighting neutral 5v5 Drakes, or later in the game where side lane turrets are down and you can pull people across the map, because, again, their two options are side lane or get on objective first and force WE to run into them and use their tools that outrange them. So it is... more of the onus is on WE right now, which is why we see Beishang starting this one up. But Hacker knows.
He does, and Jiumeng missing moving up, though, might actually change it so it doesn't matter if he knows. Getting the midway push here while ignoring bottom lane into the wall, ZS says, see you later. I just realized, you know, Dinosaurs versus Crocs would be a great idea for a movie if anyone wants to go ahead and publish that. But Beishang, still, with the movement comes through from WE, he picks up the Rift Herald, the first one of the game, and Admiral's going to go back to base.
I'm also surprised that, I guess eStar were too behind on tempo to where they can contest that, but one bad thing about the play where you accept that you're giving over Rift Herald and look for plate spot when you have a fasting Senna lane, right, is that Senna's not too good at taking turret plates, and then, I mean, you have a melee supporter, in this case a Tahm Kench, where it's going to be quite hard to do that.
An alright job, though. I'm actually surprised that Rat got 2 full turret plates and a little bit more damage to boot.
They didn't do that in that push, so I'm actually kind of surprised when they were able to. It does look like they only got 1. They didn't actually get the second yet, but yeah. But there's definitely no way they did that in that one
No,
push.
no,
The way it
you're
actually
right.
just hit turret.
I was about to say, I'm like, man, Senna got an attack speed buff or something.
I know, I was just gonna say, holy, like, yeah. Hey, but
But,
next patch we are gonna have Jinx, guys. 11.4. Just wait for it.
And you know, it was something that I was tuning in to LCO before, and I think it was actually the LS Coast stream where he's talking a little bit about how Jinx interacts with Senna as well, and how it's a pretty good option, I believe he was saying. I hope I'm not misquoting, but something we can talk about definitely in the next patch. At the very least, we've seen Kaisa running into this bottom lane quite a lot comfortably, just as a strong pick, as a blind pick, and something that does well within the lane. And is still doing quite well against this melee matchup in the Tahm Kench. 20 CS up. There's a serrated Dirk there with the Cull on top. Just note that Jiumeng's going to be towards that first item pretty quickly. And we're going to see a pretty strong one item on WE, you know, with Azir as well.
We definitely are, but still, the problem for WE is that their two pivot points of making things happen are missing and breathe. So we either need to see like bot prio turn into missing, linking up with Beishang on the map, and maybe try and set up a gank mid, or you rotate towards top lane, or you invade the enemy jungle, or Beishang would need to commit resources into ganking top, which I think you can do this matchup very early on, but once we're at this point, taking down Gnar would be too hard. He's too mobile, still has flash up, not really worth the resources of investing into your Renekton either.
Yeah, it gets to the point where he always disengages. Ooh. That's a pretty close call. Mystic was only just able to get away. He used the explosive cast, so he would have been in a bit of trouble. But Beishang moving to the bottom lane, he has a Herald, and that's going to time out in about 40 or so seconds. So he's got to make a move. He's got to drop this while turret plates still exist.
And it does look like he's going to drop it towards the bot lane, maybe, I'd assume. They haven't gotten any plates down there, but I think you are setting up Kaisa to be your big carry. I think mid, for me, would make a bit more sense just because Azir has already knocked down one plate by himself, and we already hit on, hey, when the enemy team does have so much wave clear, I think that could be slightly more beneficial, especially when you have Renekton on the other side as well, who's just kind of losing out on his island.
Might be doing that now, pathing towards it, drops by for a ward, and you can see Jiumeng and Missing already going for that deep vision to continue the control that WE have set up in this early game. Herald put on down. Shanks going to benefit so much from the gold here, considering that he's sitting on the Lost Chapter with the Nash's Tooth at the ready. So 160 gold goes over. That is shared, and Irma and Rat even move to stop the push going any further.
And I'd say this is a lot slower than I expected it to be, not only because I think WE, though they have slowed down and taken things a bit more controlled lately, they still have been a team that have been able to pull that trigger. And we had Irma in his interview saying, we're going to draft winning lanes and try to beat WE early.
And this is, you know, pretty much the opposite, right? So we're expecting eStar to get towards that late game and be in a very comfortable position with the range advantage you already highlighted. And at the very least here for eStar, you know, they had that early game lead. We saw about 1,000 gold in their back pocket, but things have evened out after all said and done, after the Herald gets the shove. So gold dead even here at 13 minutes into the game, and kind of just waiting for those first items while we continue through a laning phase. The audience thinks they're watching LCK, and, you know, at this point with 1 kill in 13 minutes, I couldn't agree more.
You know, Hysterics, I enjoy LCK. I'm going to throw that out there. But
hey, I do as well.
You know what? We have Turbo Chem Tank coming out for our Udyr. I expect Beishang to be on his way there as well. And the thing, as I'm looking at these comps more and more, is I actually don't know if eStar have a way of killing Mundo once we get to a 3-item mark. He just picked up his Turbo Chem Tank. He's going to be extremely efficient at shutting down the damage coming out from both Irma and Hacker. And for the fact that eStar went with Fasting Senna, right, we're not actually going to get really big item breakpoints coming out for Rat. So who is going to be your member to take down Beishang if things just keep going at this tempo?
Something that I was posing earlier, right? Because I thought, well, first of all, you need grievous wounds in this team no matter what, especially just for Mundo. But you're right, where's the consistent damage going to come through? You're relying on Irma here, who's now got the Essence Reaver, and even then, you know, we got to question quite a lot. I'll also say Divine Thunder is a nice item choice here for the Gnar, if you agree with that or not. Beishang.
You know what item I really want to see come out, but no one in this game can really buy it? I really want to see the new Chemtech Putrefier. I guess it's not new because, again, on live we're on 11.4, but I really like the idea of, again, healing or shielding an ally and giving everyone grievous wounds.
Yeah, it feels really nice. It's that explosive cast. Maybe he set Irma up to kill Beishang. He's gone into the sadism, stunned up on the backline. Is he healing up enough with the Burning Agony? Still ticking. The Emperor's Divide sent back. eStar get the kill, but now they're in the middle of it with free hitting Shanks. You've just given damage over to Jiumeng and this Azir. And WE trading off 3 for 2.
I feel like we were too in the rabbit hole of our nonsense, but it looked like you said, it looked like Missing kind of killed Beishang and himself in that exchange. I guess they came out ahead overall, but that fight came out of nowhere. That explosive cast came out of absolutely thin air.
After the back end of Dragon, because it was Cloud picked up by eStar in the thick of the moment. And after all said and done, yeah, favorable trade, but I'm sure we'll get to have a look again.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Shanks just got the free hit.
Yeah, again, we saw the cast come out. Numerous members of eStar were hit kind of close to Beishang. Beishang got very low very fast. But the members of eStar just funneled forward. But hey, here it is. Yeah, right at the time as he packaged as well. So Beishang was partially standing in the package for some of that exchange. Irma goes over the wall, so he's able to just keep throwing out damage. We see the Emperor's Divide come out from Azir, but Irma and Rat, again, just in the safety of their own zone, able to get some kills, but it didn't matter because the melee members of the side of eStar were just sandwiched in the middle of WE's team comp.
And as they kept getting hit away, they eventually went down and have now given away some crucial gold over to WE. Turret's being traded after the fact, and there's going to be first turret of the game for WE. They get first turret blood moments before eStar do in the top side. They still lead by 1,300 gold as Hacker actually just picked up the Herald, and he now wants to set this up for an inner turret and make this push count.
And I like what they're doing right now. They're controlling the enemy jungle from the side, taking away camps from the side of ShiauC. I guess it is a trade because we do see Mundo on the opposite side of the map, but eStar do have vision scouting him out. And I feel like both teams right now, right, we're just going to see some resets come out. They're going to get back on the map, and we're going to wait towards the next objective. WE probably will look for the mid lane turret quite soon because that is extremely low, but I'd say no obvious objective for the side of eStar. Probably want to look to counter out that mid lane play.
I'm just rotating now. Irma's joined back into the map as well. I guess I correct myself. It didn't seem like Hacker, as soon as he saw Missing, wanted to be anywhere near a Herald placement in the top lane. So now, talk to me a little bit about lanes, because you mentioned that WE need to bring tempo, and this game for eStar is about sitting back and just getting to those big item points. But at this point in the game, WE with the lead with these extended lanes, have some champions that can kind of sit and just farm it out and build pressure.
The thing is, when it comes to like side lanes, eStar will at least be able to get ahead in that regard, right? We're going to see the Gnar do quite well against the Renekton. I don't think we're at a point yet where we really want to send Irma to aggressively push out side lanes. He can catch sideways and answer the pushes coming out from eStar, but it's going to be a lot more about kind of shadowing with ZS and making sure no shenanigans happen around there. And again, just sitting on mid wave, you're fine facing front to front against WE's comp. You're both going to throw out your poke, but you're the one that has sustain coming out from your AD carry.
WE, the team that, you know, if you talk about the sustain from ADC, just on the other side of eStar, excuse me, the ability to kind of stay healthy in these fights and keep safe with the Tahm Kench there as well is always nice. Let's not forget that with package and Tahm Kench ulti, there is a bit of global pressure, plus the double TP when it's up for eStar. Yeah, that blue buff's mine, says Jiumeng. He's just going to take this away. That was an unlucky reset for ZS. But we got Dragon coming up in 50 seconds. Maybe I should drill our attention there, because items are going to be important here, and how comfortable WE feel with Nash's almost mythic here for Shanks. We got Kraken Slayer for Jiumeng. Almost the second item here for him as well with the Collector. So in a good position, but I also think that for eStar, they're trailing quite nicely.
Well, and I also think eStar, you can see how they just set up for this Dragon, right? We finally saw it, the 1-3-1 setup kind of. Gnar in the top lane, Corki and bot, they push out the side waves. Recalls come out, they're going to try and get on the map while WE are answering those waves. So I like that coming out from eStar. Shanks does have TP, but eStar should be able to just stack. Oh,
That was
Irma able to get away. Hey, he did blow Package, and I think Package is a more useful ability in this fight than the Cask is for Missing. So I would say that was a worthwhile trade.
Teleport's going to come in. Look, that's the Abyssal Voyage from ShiauC as well. So those are key abilities down for eStar. Herald being put down to create a pressure point for this team, but Missing going to get rooted down. Shanks still sitting here. Meanwhile, Dragon does fall. They're going all in, but Hacker's sent backwards. Beishang able to tank up the turret shot, puts Hacker down low. Herald will not kill the turret, in fact, as Jiumeng angling around the corner while ZS hasn't been spotted out. Mega Narbar about to build. Beishang uses the sadism. WE defend their mid lane turret and pick up the dragon. It's the wins like that that put WE in a good position.
The thing, though, is WE's comp actually doesn't really have the ability to engage, right? You only have Gragas, like E-Flash or Body Slam in the Cask, something along those lines, unless Shanks wants to put himself in a very vulnerable position.
Beishang, though, what's happening here? WE ready to go on in. Missing in first. They're forcing this engage. Hacker's being caught out. Missing able to sacrifice his life, but into the back line. Immediately, Breathe is there. On top of Irma as well. He might sacrifice his own. As Breathe healthy enough, the damage still there. Gnar against the wall. Not good enough because all of the damage of eStar is dead. Breathe forward with Beishang, and Mundo goes smash with a triple over to the Croc.
And the fight happened just in the terrain that WE want. We've highlighted so many times that eStar want these like fights where WE are right in front of them. So they want these fights in lanes. They don't want this to happen in river and jungle and closed spaces where, guess what? Breathe was allowed to close the distance. He sliced and diced into a flash. That is how WE need to engage fights. But still, he got off the W. I'm not sure if Jiumeng hit his W or followed in off the stun from Renekton, but is then able to jump in. They get the picks, and this is a Baron.
The Baron's going to lead to that 5k gold lead you now see on your screens. And this was WE's moment to shine. You think, nah, they're not going to make the play. Our TCL replay just runs it through with Breathe.
Yeah, so we see Jiumeng does hit the Void Seeker, as well as, again, Breathe, the slice and dice into Flash. You instantly have two members onto the back line of eStar, and eStar don't want these fights really up close and personal, not when both sides are full HP. They need to whittle you down first. They want an elongated, extended team fight where they can make use of that, sustain.
No. Missing is like kamikazing this game. He doesn't care. Will it lead to a kill for my team? Maybe. It's a 50-50, so he's going to play it. Jiumeng loses his support. Okay, that time it definitely wasn't worth it.
Missing is taking the philosophy of Sword Art. I was watching one of the TSM videos, and Sword Art says, like, my job as a support isn't to care about my KD8s, to get the team ahead, so I'll die to put the team ahead. And Missing is taking that way too far, where he's just dying.
Yeah, it maybe needs to settle down a bit. Beishang, though, is he caught out? Still has the sadism, uses it. There's the Abyssal Voyage. Follows through, and Irma gets sent on in. Maybe that Valkyrie kills him as the Empress Divide. Good night. Whatever you want to say, that's WE putting the game away. Breathe on the chase after ZS. This one's done. I think WE are about to have some fun.
And let's remember, this is a 2-6 team up against a team that is 6-3. You know, eStar weren't coming in as heavy favorites. They were coming in as heavy underdogs. Very slow early game, but at the end of the day, WE are like a developed team, right? With Jiumeng, Missing, and Beishang have now been playing together for a long time, already doing really well in 2020. Breathe was already a top 5 player in 2020 summer on my top lane power rankings. And then Shanks just comes in and kind of completes the puzzle.
He does. 009 here is Missing, ready again. Look at him, explosive cast. Missing, you know he wants to die to this turret. For the greater good, this man will sacrifice his life as eStar now pay that respect with the Baron buff. Inner turret's going to go down. Gold lead at about 8,000 here at 23 minutes in the game. And WE are now on fire, ready to close out this game 1.
Okay, Hysterics. There's going to be a replay, but, you know, this replay was actually pretty cool. So we can talk about it. We see the root come out from Senna, and eStar all funneling over the wall. The Valkyrie comes out. They didn't have vision. Actually, they did have vision. I'm wrong. We see that word right there. They know exactly where WE is.
True.
And they still take the top Kench ultimate.
They thought, well, you know what? We're going to double down. And I respect that.
We're going to get a pick. Mundo's going to be dead. It's going to be a 4v5. That's not what happened. They all funneled into their doom. But Hysterics, we need to rewind to an earlier point in the night where I asked you specifically, how does this team come back in the game? And you had a great answer. So let's hear it again. How does eStar come back?
I said a team's got to int, but unfortunately, Rat takes that quite literally. ShiauC gets in his mouth, and as he spits him out, I think ShiauC, he got a bit of the inting disease himself. 0, 4, and 4. And as Rat dies alongside with him, it just feels like WE can do no wrong. That Emperor's Divide was better than a Pyramid. Who needs to go to Egypt when you have Shanks playing 0011 here on the Azir? Package out Valkyrie there. And you know, Valkyries are also the people that ascend. After this, Irma's probably going to have to ascend to the base and eStar. Lose the inhibitor on the way.
Also going to end up losing this Ocean Drake as well. That will be WE's for free. And Breathe even creating pressure in the top half of the map. WE don't even need to bring the whole team. They're like simultaneously doing many things because they are ahead, right? They're getting Dragon, but they're also trying to get tempo by having members like Kaisa reset already. Just the luxury you have of being in a winning position. You know, a coach I used to work with, Revan, Sam, as he's known, the Flannelista, known by many names, told me once, macro is a luxury of the winning team. And it's something that stuck with me to this day. But you know what? That quote and that philosophy doesn't matter right now because we have a replay, kills are happening on our screen. That's the end of that.
Yeah. Just Mundo unkillable at this point. Oh, Breathe. Close to catching out at ZS, who has probably played the safest game out of any of the players here on eStar. It's a 10,000 gold lead, 26 minutes in, and now it's just dotting the I's, crossing the T's. And if that wasn't bad enough, if this game was even though you talk about scaling, I feel like if Ocean Soul was there and WE got it, Beishang would be near unkillable. So that's the problem you highlighted before, and it feels like eStar, they can't put a foot right. Getting chased up. The question mark goes in the air. He doesn't care. Irma gets low. Killer Instinct was used by Jiumeng. He's not going to walk into that trap. And Lyric, WE now, they're going to top turret to attend to. Beishang, he knows that he can just walk into it if the minion wave dies.
Hey, I was going to say, Missing has been known to go in even when maybe it's not the best idea. I thought he was going to do it. He backed away, but they should just be able to keep this siege up. And, oh, actually, ZS is coming in with the TP on the flame.
Yes, he is. He's going into Mega as well. There's the explosive cast. Separates Hacker. ZS now ready for against the wall. Gets Shanks as he goes out from Golden. Big shutdown here for eStar. WE, you know, maybe they did do the int as Killer Instinct's not available for Jiumeng. They group up as 5. They take down 2. And suddenly the pressure alleviated by WE.
I was going to say, Hysterics, if this happened like 20 or 30 seconds later, this could have turned into a Baron for eStar. This could have been something to... Despite what we've talked about with their comps maybe not having enough damage to take down Beishang in a full 5v5, they'd at least get Baron, they'd have pressure, they'd get some gold back, but kind of unfortunate timing. Oh, Beishang and Breathe.
He has to flash. There's follow-up here. Zetas will go Mega again, but Breathe goes into the backline on top of Rat. Beishang's dead, though. Irma comes on in. Hacker's taking the aggro. Breathe trying to heal on up. The shield comes through. And this is what happens when you give a Hysterics and a Gore Drinker over to a Renekton. Low health bars as Jiumeng goes invisible, tried to cut away that teleport. Spells bad news as the Abyss avoids to get on out. He abandons his team and Shanks saves the day once more. This time, the solo lane has cleaned it up with Jiumeng, and they will not be stopped as Breathe into the back line. WE finally now should be able to end this game.
Really clean fight coming out from Breathe in that one to carry it, and that's what you want to see from WE. The individual skill expression step up from these players.
A good way to end it. After WE kind of threw a couple of things away, they will clean it up and run it through mid for an under 30-minute win.
And like you said, you know, the Hysterics and the Gore Drinker in their last fight, not really meaning too much. Both items nerfed. Just the fact that, you know, Breathe was, I think, 5-1-7 when before that fight happened, he got those 2 kills and ended 7-1-7. Just insanely ahead. Still a massive gold advantage. And, you know, it didn't matter that WE made mistakes. And then didn't matter that WE didn't dot all the I's and cross all the T's because they did enough work in the early game to where what Irma said was true, right? Irma admitted WE are a stronger team. They are like a better team-playing team than us. One thing I really like about WE is they have one of the best ideas in the LPL about like playing through jungle, in my opinion, despite the fact that I think they do mess up in other areas. And I would like to see eStar go with the plan that Irma brought up in the interview. Hey, just try and draft a bunch of hard stomping lanes, flip the coin in the air and hope for the best.
That's not what we saw out of eStar. It was that patient comp that needed to wait, stack up items, and get to the point where Senna Corki outrange, as you mentioned. But
and it's still just real quick,
please.
Just to hit on that point. It's still a bit harder, right? Because you're not the comp that can even really engage or go in. You're more hoping for them to run into you. You're more hoping to fight them over mid wave, get on the objective first, or start playing through side lanes. That's not as straightforward as, I picked Mundo and these champions that just want to run at you. It's way more straightforward. And when WE's already the better team from what you're admitting, you're now picking the harder strategy to pull off.
And I think also, Mundo into that comp, you mentioned many times in the game that, there's not really anyone who can purely deal with Mundo, maybe apart from the Corki. So it felt like there were a lot of weaknesses in eStar's draft where WE was set up for success. And we did see in that game where there were a couple of mistakes from eStar, a couple of moments where WE allured them in. I think it's just lure, not allure. But
the thing about your Mundo point is... they have the damage deal with Mundo if Mundo is isolated. If Mundo's by himself, sure, they can kill Mundo. The problem is when we're in a straight-up 5v5, and you now either decide, do I dedicate to bursting down this Mundo before his ult heals him back up? But if you do that, you're letting other members of WE get free damage on you and letting Breathe pop off, letting Missing find a good CC chain, letting Jiumeng get in there. Or do you ignore Beishang and, again, he becomes that annoyance that we talked about where it's just a Mundo in your face throwing cleavers and you're like, what do I do?
Did more damage than Breathe as well. Look at that. Actually, Missing did more damage than him. I guess that's what happens when you go in all the time.
You're right. Missing was consistently going in, but hey, very good performance coming out from, I think, WE as a whole. And again, it's what's going to happen when you're playing against these lower tier teams, right? That more of your members are going to shine because you do just outclass the enemy team in so many areas. On the opposite side, I don't think Irma necessarily had an outstanding game, but is topping the damage charts, is playing the Corki, which is a bit expected. But yeah, I'd like to see eStar pivot their draft and pivot their plan. Not that I think it was necessarily bad in isolation or in the sense of this game, but I think if they are trying to win the game here today, they need to pull off a bit more cheese, a bit more spice, a bit more pizzazz.
True. It's been talked about many times, the less skilled team should be pulling out, different unique points that they can, really exploit. Like we know Hacker has a great champion pool. Hacker's been around in the LPL for a little bit now, and people
Give us the Lee Sin, baby. Give us the Lee Sin.
I mean, even ShiauC, right? ShiauC's an experienced player from the LMS. ShiauC's been to Worlds. Worlds or MSI?
MSI.
Hey, I got myself. Thank you, though.
Funny enough, went to MSI, finished 7th the next split. It happens, though.
Hey, that happens, man. Hey, dude, IG,
This is the LPL.
Yeah. Need I say more? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a break. WE and eStar will continue right after this.